Welcome back. Welcome into the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza. Alex Napoles with me, back again. We had last Saturday off again, huh?
Yeah, we did. We took another weekend off.
Did you do anything fun last weekend?
Oh, of course not.
I did.
I just stayed in and relaxed, man.
I went fishing.
Oh, nice. Why did everybody go fishing last week?
It's spring.
I guess.
Weather was nice.
Is it really spring, though?
Today it doesn't feel like it, but last weekend was really nice. I went out. I found a little pond up by my house in Syracuse. Caught a nice trout.
Nice, man.
It was a battle.
I think last weekend I finished unpacking.
Oh, nice.
I got everything sorted out and ready to roll. I'm officially done. And then from there, I just hung out with family and friends.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, unpacking is that's the worst. And it always takes forever.
It does.
I bet you're not done. No offense.
On my part, I'm done.
I bet there's stuff you don't know about, and you'll be like, "Oh, where is it?"
Maybe.
Oh, it's still packed.
We'll see, I guess.
Sean, how was your weekend last week?
Oh, it was very good. I went to my buddy's house, had some smoked brats.
Oh, nice.
And queso.
There you go.
It was a great time. Good time.
Wow.
Outside.
Man, it's springtime. I'm ready for like barbecues every weekend or, every other weekend. I don't know. It's just, that's the best part, I think, about spring and summer. I love getting outside with the grill, going out catching fish. Man, I can't wait.
It's too early to be talking about food, man. I haven't had breakfast yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're going to hear my stomach growling throughout the course of the show now.
Oh, man. Okay, we'll move off of food. We'll get into some sports. Well, since we didn't have a show last week, we kind of missed out on talking the end of the Jazz season. It came and went. It's done. Officially the worst season in Jazz history. They finished, what was their record? 17. They finished with 17 wins.
Yes.
17-65.
That's right.
Was the official tally. Worst record in the NBA this year. So, yeah, it was tough, but it's what they wanted to do. And this is where we are at this point in the rebuild. It was a very long week. Monday, we had the Jazz exit interviews with Justin Zanuck and Will Hardy. Thursday, we had the hockey exit interviews with every single player on the roster. That was a very long day. And then yesterday, big news, the Larry H. Miller Group announced that they were purchasing Real Salt Lake and the Utah Royals. So
that's right.
Very busy week in the state of Utah sports-wise, and gave us a lot of content, and we'll hit on all of that. But I do want to start, Alex, talking with the Jazz. Because of all this pain that they went through, 17-65, they do it for a reason, and the reason is to give themselves the best shot in the lottery. And even Justin Zanuck said it flat out on Monday, that they have done everything they can this season to ensure that they have the best lottery odds possible. We all know how it is. 14% chance at the number 1 pick, 52% chance at a top 4 pick, 48% chance at the number 5 pick. But the number 5 pick is as low as they can fall. So May 12th, big day. That is the NBA lottery. We will see how things shake out. But what are your thoughts, I guess, on, I don't know, anything you heard on Monday? Did that change your mind on anything? Did it open your eyes to anything? Do you have any major thoughts on this?
I think personally for me, my biggest takeaway from everything that went down on Monday with all the exit interviews and hearing everybody talk and kind of wrap up the season, and I'm sure you might agree, Christian, is that I think right now for the Jazz organization, the right people are in place to make the right decision.
I like that.
Justin Zanuck, I think, said everything right and everything that the Jazz fan base wanted to hear about a season that, coming into the season, we knew what the plan was.
Yes.
And they got it accomplished. Will Hardy, there is no doubt in my mind that he's the right guy to lead this group. And it was brought up by Thurl Bailey earlier in the week when he was talking to JJ and Alex. And he said, look, if there wasn't development, if you didn't see clear and visual growth from the young guys and the young players, then that's an issue. But under Will Hardy, there has been visible growth from these young guys. And that is why Will Hardy is the right guy to lead this group.
The only thing that I would not disagree with, but just point out, like you said, that they said all the right things, which is cool, but that's the easy part.
That is the easy part.
Saying all the right things is the easy part.
That is the easy part.
Actually finding the right talent and developing them the right way, that's the hard part. That's what's going to determine if this was worth it at all. Whether or not it's Cooper Flagg, whether or not it's Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey or VJ Edgecombe or Derek Queen or Yakachonis, like all of these guys are talented. There's no doubt that's why they are, projected top 5 picks. It's a matter of finding that talent, adapting it to, your roster the best you can, building around it if they're that level of a player, or simply just getting the best out of them. So we'll see what's up.
Which, again, I do think has happened.
So far, I think I would agree with you. I think Keontae George obviously had a big year 1. Year 2, again, continued with his ups and downs. It seemed like moving to the 6th man role was a good thing for him. And we did see some development there. But then, of course, you look at guys like Isaiah Collier and Kyle Filipowski, namely, they grew tremendously in just their singular 82-game season. So I think those are the 2 easy ones to point to. I'm excited to see Taylor Hendricks next year because he's clearly changed his body a ton, a very large amount. But we didn't get to see exactly what his development has looked like because he's been injured.
That's right.
Now, unfortunately, his development was probably paused a little bit because with the injury, he's not able to be out playing. And then he has recovery on top of that. So, yeah, his growth might be stunted a little bit. We'll see. But just from, physically seeing what he looked like year 1 to year 2, there's a big difference there. And I'm excited to see what that looks like. Bryce Sensabaugh, the only one that has not been mentioned yet. I think he's kind of settled into his role as, catch and shoot guy, which is valuable. And if he can improve on his defense, he's got the size and he's got the length. He can be a really valuable 3-and-D player. But right now his role, and he knows it, is, give me the ball. I'm going to shoot 52% from 3 or whatever that crazy, stupid number is. Like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
And so that's big there. And it really seems like you're right. Bottom line, all of these guys have grown, and that's credited to Will Hardy and his coaching staff.
I think the biggest 3 to me that stand out as far as growth goes is guys that you just hit on in Isaiah Collier, who as a rookie averaging 6 assists this season. And we saw, I think, after December, probably early January, where he kind of took this different leap where he started getting that starting role. And we saw him distribute a lot better, play a lot better. And I think that...
Yeah, he broke John Stockton's record.
Exactly. And that's huge, man. Isaiah Collier, to me, is the biggest one that we've seen this season grow. Yeah. And he's probably one of the most ones that I'm excited for. Same thing can be said about Filipowski. I think Flip took a huge step as well after January. And then, like you mentioned, Sensabaugh has been shooting really well from 3.
Yeah.
And there was those 2 games in Florida where he was on fire, man.
Yeah.
And if he can take those performances and just be more consistent the way he was in those 2 games, I mean, not to say that he wasn't shooting bad or poorly or anything throughout the rest of the course of the season, but Sensabaugh grew a lot too. And I think those 3 guys alone should give this fan base hope that everything is moving in the right direction.
Well, and that's what's hard, too, as far as Will Hardy goes. It's like, it's good that we're seeing growth and development from the young guys. But then once you actually get them to where you need them to be, and then you need to ask Will Hardy to start winning games, we haven't seen that from Will because that's not the situation he's been in. So I do hope that when it is time to take that next step, I do hope he can be the guy. And I don't have anything. I mean, he hasn't shown us anything that would say otherwise, right?
Exactly.
I'm just pointing out that, developing the young players into their second and third year or whatever, that's completely different from, okay, let's go win a championship. But I want to play this cut real quick. Somebody did ask Justin Zanuck about that. They asked him, do you want Will Hardy as the head? Do you think Will Hardy can be the head coach here when this team is ready to take the next step? And this is what Justin Zanuck had to say.
Absolutely. If I had a vote, I honestly would cast my vote for Coach of the Year for Will Hardy. As I said before, he's an incredible teacher, incredible communicator, a great partner. And when I say partner, not only with ownership, myself, Danny, but the players. He is truly invested in our players' individual development, as well as obviously the development for us to be better as a team. I'm actually not sure there's anybody better in the league than he is at how much he invests in our group.
So he likes the growth that he's seen. And again, we all know that Will Hardy's done a good job these last couple of years of developing these 6 young guys, which is crazy to think about it. This is a fun little exercise that I see a lot of people doing, and I want to give our hand at it. Do you want to rank the Jazz's 6 young players, Alex?
Oh, rank them?
Yeah, like, I guess we got to put a sort of label, right?
In the terms of development or in the terms of...
Let's put it in the terms of how likely they are to stick around when this team is ready to take the next step, you know?
Okay.
Based off of what we've seen.
All right
now.
Based on what we've seen?
Yeah, not like potential, because obviously, and that's hard because, if they all hit their ceilings, that's one thing. But let's go based off of what we've seen right now.
Based off what we've seen right now, and I this is kind of a unfair answer to my bottom of the ranking, but I'm going to have to put Hendricks there.
Last. Yeah, because we've seen the least from him.
We've seen the least from him. And like I said, it might be unfair, right? He's been out all season with an injury, basically, and
yeah,
a little unfair to him. But we've seen the least of him, so he's going at the bottom.
But again, if they were all to hit their ceilings, I think he'd be the best player of the bunch, which is ironic.
Exactly. So again, like you mentioned, he's one of those guys that I'm extremely, extremely excited to see come back, and extremely excited to see what he can do last year. But for now, unfairly, I'll put him at last.
5th.
The next up, I'm going to go Cody Williams. I think out of the 6 players that we're talking about, Cody Williams is the one who impressed the least this season. And I'm sure, I think
that's not debatable at all.
I think you might agree with that. After that, it's kind of where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
I know I just praised his shooting, but after that, I'm going Sensabaugh.
You'd put Sensabaugh at 4?
I'd put Sensabaugh at 4.
Or no, I lost track already.
Yeah,
Would that
that's
be 4?
Okay. That's 4. And then after that,
Why would you put him at 4?
So he has had 2 years, and
he's a little one-dimensional offensively.
There you go.
And his defense needs some work.
And then too, the way I kind of see it, and from my perspective, is this is his second year, right? He's entering his second year.
Yeah.
And we see the growth from Collier and Flip in the first season, and you didn't really see that jump with Sensabaugh until January of this year, I would say.
I would agree with that.
So he's taken a little bit longer. And again, that's no diss to him. It's just taken him a little bit longer. And from my perspective, that's why he's going to go at number 4.
Okay.
For number 3, I'm going to go Keontae.
All right.
I'm going to go Keontae George. I think he's, embraced that 6-man role. And I think he's played better coming off the bench. But I'm going to throw him at 3. And then I think 2 and 1 are pretty obvious in Flip and Collier.
What order?
Ooh, I'm going to go Flip at 2nd and Collier at 1st.
Okay.
Do you agree?
I think I would mostly agree with that. I would probably flip Keontae and Bryce.
Okay.
I think Keontae's defense is worse than Sensabaugh's, and I think Sensabaugh's scoring is more consistent. So that's my thing there. Except Keontae can get to the rim sometimes, but not all the time. But Keontae's ceiling is higher. I think.
And you're looking at ceilings, and I'm
Right. Well, as what we've seen, I think it would be fair to put Keontae 3, Bryce 4. Collier, man, he can be a dude if he can just develop somewhat of a shot. Like, I'm not asking him to come out and be Bryce Sensabaugh, but if he can, 34, 35% from 3, just enough to make guys think twice about sagging down on defense, he'd be awesome. But I like his motor. Flip, I think, showed the most growth in this season.
I would agree.
As far as from game 1 to game 82, I really like pretty much everything I've seen from him. Obviously, he's not a perfect player. That's why he fell to the second round. But offense is there. The potential on defense is there. If he continues to develop into his second year, that's a good player you're looking at. So I think I'd probably put Flip 1, Collier 2. So
I've really liked Flip's shooting.
But it sounds like we're in the same ballpark.
We're in the same realm, and I'm sure a lot of the Jazz fan base would probably agree. That's kind of where we're at right now. If we're talking about ceilings, I mean, the rankings do change a little bit because, like you said, Taylor Hendricks has a huge ceiling.
His ceiling is ridiculous.
He has a huge ceiling.
And so does Cody Williams, for what it's worth.
And that's true as well. But as far as Hendricks goes, we just haven't seen him too much.
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, but staying with the Jazz. Again, we mentioned lottery May 12th. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, if everything goes as planned and you get Cooper Flagg, you get that number 1 pick, you can draft him, you're sitting pretty, right? And the Jazz know they have the assets to kickstart this rebuild into the next phase, and I think that drafting Flagg might give them the chance to do that. Of course, you would need to rely on maybe a star coming available elsewhere, whether it's, Devin Booker or maybe somebody needs help in a Kevin Durant trade. I don't want the Jazz to trade for Kevin Durant, but maybe that other team needs to give players up and, the Jazz step in as a third team to help facilitate and just send the Suns a ton of picks or whatever. There's some possibility there. I love what I saw from Cooper Flagg. But again, 14% chance. So if that doesn't happen, the Jazz need to have some backup plans, right? Funny enough, we saw some rumors. The New Orleans Pelicans, right? They got a new president of basketball operations. And there were some rumors saying the ownership might force him to trade Zion away. So the natural question is, okay, you have to ask yourself if you're Utah Jazz, if Zion Williamson comes available, are you interested in him?
I don't think so.
You wouldn't be? Let's say the price is 3 first-round picks and a player, and a young player, plus whatever it would take to match salaries.
I think when it comes to Zion, I feel like there's maybe a little bit of a stigma of the man's is just made out of glass.
He could be.
And he's going to come in and potentially just, be hurt. And I feel like that doesn't really help you in a situation where if you miss out Flagg and you're trying to make a move to just boost yourself up and kind of take a next step in the rebuild, I don't know if that might be worth the shot on Zion.
I think that's a swing you got to take.
Really?
I do. I really do. You look at Zion and what he was coming out of Duke, and he was like the first draft prospect I felt like people were comparing to LeBron, which was crazy.
That is true, yeah.
And, Anthony Davis got a lot of hype coming out of college. So did Kyrie. But and maybe I was just older, so I didn't, when Anthony Davis was drafted, I wasn't as tapped in, right? So maybe I'm wrong here, but I felt like Zion was the next thing. And, of course, he's done everything wrong off the court to derail his career so far, whether it's getting involved with the wrong people, not able to control his injuries or his weight, and just not prioritizing basketball, right? But when he is on the court, that's the thing. When he is on the court, he has still shown that he is a very, very good basketball player. I'm talking like near levels of Shaq dominance when he really locks in. And I think if you're the Jazz and you're in this position, say you get the 4th or 5th pick or the 2nd or 3rd, whatever, you miss out on Cooper. That's the bottom line. You're like, okay, we get this young player. We've got to make a swing and get somebody else. I really, in a perfect world, I would like to think you trade for Zion there. But then there's the whole, would he like it here in Salt Lake City?
Going back to what you said with him being locked in, and when he's locked in, he is locked in. There is no doubt. But how often is he locked in?
I think for the most part, when he plays, he's there. I wouldn't say he's one of the players that, like, even when he's on the court, sometimes he's not, trying or whatever. I would think that his biggest problems are off the court. I don't think he really has an effort issue.
So then that goes back to the exit interviews, and one of the things that stuck out to me was Will Hardy saying that when we bring in guys, we want to bring in guys that fit the culture and fit the locker room and are good guys. Does Zion fit that mold?
I don't know.
He missed a plane on purpose, man.
I know, yeah. That's a good point. That's a really good point. So, yeah, maybe Will Hardy wouldn't be interested.
He wanted to stick it to the Pelicans, and he decided to skip out on traveling, man.
Yeah.
So, again, is that the right fit? Is that going to fit into the culture that Will Hardy is building?
From that perspective, no. I guess not.
That's why.
And you know what? Maybe I don't know. Is that the right way to do things? I don't know.
When it comes to Zion, look, the talent, there is no doubt. Because I do remember, like you mentioned, when he was coming out of Duke, the hype around Zion was incredible.
Yeah.
And so there's no denying that the talent is there, but to me, in remembering all this off-court drama and all the criticisms around Zion, I just don't think it's worth a shot for the Jazz.
What if the price was absurdly low? Let's say 2 first-round picks, salary.
Hey, man, if you're not giving too much up, why not? Why not?
I guess that's what it boils down to, right? What would the market be?
It'll be good for the memes. It'll be good for the fun. If it's a low price, just do it.
I would like to see it. And imagine that you don't even have to give up. You might have to give up Lowry in this scenario, but I don't know. Imagine you could pair both of them together.
See, and that's a conversation that I've seen brought up on social media a lot this week following the exit interviews is Lowry's future. And if the Jazz miss out on Cooper Flagg, what does that mean for Lowry Markkanen?
Yeah.
And people are talking about trading Lowry, but again, I think Lowry is a guy that you should be holding on to, at least for now.
I don't know. It all depends on what comes available, right? My biggest thing is you don't trade a player just to trade him. And the Jazz don't have to do that, and they know that, and they're not going to be stupid, and they're not going to trade Lowry just to trade him. And they showed that last year. Sounds like things got pretty heavy with Golden State, and Golden State wasn't willing to include Kuminga and Podziemski, and the Jazz said, okay, well, we don't have to trade Lowry, and if you're not going to give us both of them, then he's going to stay in Utah. So I think that showed that, they know what he's worth, and they're not going to take less than what he's worth.
They shouldn't.
And this is a scenario that, I've compared to several times. Like, you look at Oklahoma City and why their rebuild worked so well. It's because they were able to trade Paul George for a dude. Draft picks are cool and fun in theory, but look at what's going on with the Jazz first-round pick this year. You don't know where it's going to land. Literally the next 10 years of this franchise depend on ping pong balls and where they're going to fall. There's a 14% chance that ball ends up being Cooper Flagg. And, that's absolute best case scenario, right? But if you're, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're like, okay, let's trade Paul George. we'll take some draft picks in return, but we need a young player with a very high ceiling. And they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They're the number 1 team in the West this year. He's probably going to win MVP. So you need to leverage when you have a player like that. You need to use that to your advantage. And at some point, 6 draft picks over the last 2 years. They have 2 first-round picks this year, 2 second-round picks. The next year, I think they have 3 first-round picks again. So it's like at some point, you got to start getting dudes. So my bottom line is, if something opens up and you're able to take on some young players with high ceilings in exchange for Lauri Markkanen, that's something that's going to have to be thought about, especially if you miss out on Coop.
And this is a conversation we've had before, and maybe, I don't know if I'm not saying any specific guy, and not Lowry, but we talked about how if the Jazz's star can already be in the league, and so if a player comes available that they believe they can bring in to be a Shai, you should.
Right.
You have players on expiring contracts.
A lot. They have almost $60 million worth of expiring contracts.
Yeah, man. And you leverage that to bring in a guy, especially if you miss out on Cooper Flagg, especially if those ping pong balls don't go your way. That should be your leverage.
And that would delay a rebuild by another couple years, unfortunately, right? But
I got to break Jazz fans' hearts, man.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna. I was thinking about it actually on the drive in here because I was thinking about this whole Luka Doncic thing, and for as good as he was, it took him 5 years to get Dallas to the finals, which on one hand is a long time. On the other hand, that's not very long, right? But if you think of, again, if the Jazz get their guy in this draft, best case scenario, they're in the finals in 5 years. That's 2030.
And that's absolute best case.
That's absolute best case scenario. Everything goes your way.
Right.
The player is a top 5 NBA talent level player. Absolute best case scenario. So yeah, that got me feeling a little gloom this morning. Probably shouldn't have brought it up on air, but
hey, you know what, man?
That's where we're at with the Jazz future.
That's exactly where we're at.
Bottom line, Monday we didn't learn anything really that we didn't already know.
Right.
But it's nice to have clarity. It's always nice to hear from Justin Zanuck and from Will. It was an incredibly long and grueling season. I can't imagine that Will Hardy had fun losing games. And that's got to be tough on a guy whose main goal is to win. But that's just not where this team was this year. And it's just crazy to me how much this all depends on luck. It's wild.
Those ping pong balls, man.
So again, May 12th, we'll see how that goes.
Knock on some wood, everybody.
I know. Well, hopefully Cody Williams can get over his mononucleosis.
Yeah, man.
And hit the weights.
Couldn't agree more.
Hopefully Taylor Hendricks, I heard May was when he was supposed to be, ready to take on basketball activities. So we'll see what the summer does for these guys, and I'm excited. It could be a very fun offseason for the Jazz. It could be a very disappointing offseason. I have no idea what's going to come, but we'll be right here on the Saturday show.
Absolutely.
And the KSL Sports.
Absolutely. And we'll have a better idea we'll have a better idea after May 12th.
At least after the lottery, even though the draft isn't until June, after the lottery, you can kind of dial in a little bit more and say, okay, here's plan A, plan B, C, D, whatever.
Gotta wait for those balls, man.
All right. Let's take a break. And then coming up on the other side, the Utah Hockey Club had their exit interviews. Logan Cooley sat down with Jake and Ben. I want to replay that conversation because he talked about his upcoming contract extension. That's going to be huge. Stay tuned. We're going to play that next. This is the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Nice song choice, Sean. I like that one. It's the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles. Hope you're all enjoying this chilly Saturday. What does my phone say? 45? It was 32 when I got up this morning.
It was cold last night, dude.
It snowed a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, man.
That's we should have known it was coming.
It happens every year.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise. But I'm ready for it to be warm. I'm ready.
I put some grass seed down, and I really hope that it doesn't die. I'll be really upset because that was a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work, a lot of money. It's not cheap, man. It's not
I
cheap.
should have
It's not
known it
cheap.
was going to snow at least 2 more times.
It happens
It's
every
gonna
year,
snow
man.
again.
Just wait. Just wait for the May one. It's coming.
Speaking of snow, Alex, let's talk hockey.
Let's do it.
Thursday, as I mentioned, the Utah Hockey Club had all of their exit interviews as they wrap up their season. Of course, they missed out on the playoffs as well. Before the season, Bill Armstrong, had kind of hinted at, well, we don't really know if we're quite a playoff team yet, but the plan is to be competing down the stretch. And that's exactly what they did. But I'll tell you what, Alex, the vibe I got from Thursday, and I'm sure you will agree, that these players were not happy that they missed out on the playoffs. 38, 31, and 13 was their final record. 89 points on the year. And that's like 3 wins away from a playoff spot.
They weren't too far off, man.
They were right there.
They weren't too far off. And I think we talked about it too the last time we were on, Christian, is the fact that they've taken steps year by year by year, and we're continuing to see those steps.
12 points better than they were last year.
And I think that's huge.
So if they could add another 12 points, that's in by a lot.
Man,
if they can add another 10 points, that's in.
If you can even add like 8
Yeah.
and give yourself a wild card spot, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. Look, man, but I think the overall theme, and like you mentioned, is, there was a handful of players who basically said, look, like, we're disappointed to be sitting here doing these interviews with you guys because we should be getting ready for playoffs.
Yeah.
And you should like that hunger. You should like that drive from your guys in them wanting to take that next step and wanting to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And like you mentioned, man, I don't think they're that far off.
No. I do want to point out, I shouldn't say my favorite part, but like a lot of times in these exit interviews, you get the same message from all the players, whether good or bad, right? They were giving us the same message as far as, not happy with missing the playoffs. But then as far as like some of the free agents and what their plans are, they kind of don't really say anything, and you don't learn anything that way. Michael Carcone, man, gave us some transparency, and I really appreciate it. He's a free agent this summer, and they asked him if he plans on returning to Utah, and he straight up said, no, I talked with the front office, and we're on the same page. I'm probably not coming back. Which, credit to him, he said he wants more playing time, and he kind of realizes that he probably doesn't fit the long-term plans with the hockey club, right? They're going to have a lot of young guys coming in over the next few years, and they're probably going to want to get them on the ice. They might even make a big swing as far as bringing in some talent this offseason, so we'll see. And that just doesn't leave a lot of playing time for a guy like Carcone. And credit to him, he's one of those guys. He's small, right? He's literally my size. He's like 5'8", below, I don't know how much he weighs. I'd guess 170 maybe, right? But man, he's a dog. Like, we saw him picking fights with big dudes all season. 5'8" out there picking fights with guys that are like 6'2". And he's a scrappy guy, but unfortunately it's just, doesn't really fit on this roster. So yeah, bottom line is Carcone probably not going to be back, and he was willing to come out and say it himself. But some more transparency we got. Logan rising star for the Utah Hockey Club. Most of the players, we just heard their podium sounds. We didn't get a lot of one-on-one interviews. We did get a one-on-one interview with Logan Cooley. He sat down with Jake and Ben, and they asked him about his upcoming. He's going to be eligible for a contract extension, right? They gave Dylan Guenther an extension last year. Now Cooley will be ready this summer, and Jake and Ben made sure to ask Logan Cooley about that. So here is that whole interview, Logan Cooley with Jake and Ben.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone live at Delta Center. Joining the show now, young star for the Utah Hockey Club, Logan Cooley with us. Logan, thanks for jumping on. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
We're doing terrific. First year in the books here in Salt Lake City. We know you just talked about it a little bit at your press conference, but you get to step away now. What's going to stick with you? What's going to hang over from this first year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, it was first year. I think the whole experience of, moving here and getting adjusted, I think, the support of the fans, I don't think anyone was expecting it to be this nuts. And, it was unbelievable playing here each and every game. It seemed sold out and, it gave us energy and, it got you excited to come to the Delta Center, that's for sure.
How are you feeling about your specific game? I mean, statistically, obviously, you took a big step forward, but do you feel that in your own game that you got a lot better this year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's, each season you want to come in and improve and take strides, and, I thought I did. Obviously there's still a lot of work to be done. It's still just my second year, but I think overall, I'm pretty happy, and, it was a great first year here, and looking to improve and, kind of build off this season.
Seeing a lot of young guys who step in and want to show what they can do on the offensive side. Was it game 2 or 3? You get the poke away on defense in overtime in New York, leads to the game-winning goal. What does that side of the puck mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot. I mean, I talk about it. I think Bear's done a great job of, getting that into my head of, playing both sides of the puck. And I think, when you're playing great defensively, that translates to, getting chances offensively. And, it's something that, as a young kid, maybe hard to understand. You just want to score goals and make plays. But, as you start to learn more in this league, it's all about, doing things the right way. And, you can't, cheat for offense, take, shifts off, because if you do, you're going to have a guy like McDavid coming down, and it's probably going to end up in the back of your net.
Can you learn something? I know you'd probably you obviously would rather be in the playoffs right now, but can you learn something from competing for it down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us it was just, coming in, we wanted to play meaningful games, and, obviously last year at this time we were, obviously out and not playing meaningful games, and, this year we wanted to come in and have a chance to be pushing for the playoffs, and we did, and obviously that's a step as a team, and, next year that we went through this, it's, in our head now it's about making the playoffs, and, if we don't, then, it's a bust of a season, so for us that's, what we want to do and definitely accomplish next year.
Dylan Gunther got his contract extension signed last year. How quickly can you start having those conversations, and what do you expect from that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, July 1st is kind of the date you could start talking, and for me, I'm just, not trying to think about it too much, just trying to reflect on the season and everything that happened, and the rest will kind of take care of itself, but, obviously it's an exciting time, and, Utah is a place that, I love and for sure want to be.
Something you'd want to get signed, though, this summer?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, there's a lot that goes into it, so everything goes smoothly and, talks go good. I think, that's something that, will happen.
But you want to be here long term. You could see yourself with this hockey club for a long time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, just when I first got here, it was the community, everyone was unbelievable. Living here is great. I talk about it a lot, but the fans, the ownership, and, I think just the exciting future we have with young players coming up, guys that, are veterans on the team, guys that have been through a lot. So, obviously it's exciting to be here, and, I'm looking forward to the next step we're going to take next year.
What have you learned playing next to Keller and, putting together a 90-point season and 30 goals? What did you see from him this year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's an elite player, a guy that's been through a lot in this league, and, I think just how much you see how hard he works each and every day, and what he does to, want to be the best. And, I think that's something that, I've learned from him. But I think the whole team kind of, follows his lead of his work ethic, doing things the right way. And that's something that, I take a lot of, pride in learning from him, and something that, I want to continue to kind of add into my game.
What does your summer look like? Do you go home?
Yeah, I'll go back to Pittsburgh and skate and train there, and see some buddies, golf a little bit, take a little break. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting to kind of get back there and see some family, obviously, and take a couple weeks off, and then it's right back at it.
We were here, both of us, for the welcome party when you guys were on the ice for the first time and up on the stage. And you mentioned, you said, like, I'm kind of shy. This is not really my thing. You feel like you've come out of your shell a lot. I mean, whether it's, talking after the post game at a 3 stars or just speaking now, or how you are on the podium. Do you feel that? Do you feel like you've kind of arrived from a vocal leadership standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I think you get comfortable each year. last year it was super quiet. 19-year-old kid coming in and coming from school, and guys have families now. Guys, I'm just young kid going back to my place, but I mean, I think I learned a lot of just finding ways to be comfortable, and I think as you start to be around the guys more and do more media and little things like that, it builds up your confidence and kind of get used to it a little more.
Seasons are so long, and you guys play so many games, and I'm sure you've played thousands and thousands in your lifetime. I always find it interesting what stands out in your memory, and as you get away from the season, what do you think you'll remember? Are there moments or vibes or things that will stand out to you from this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the first game, like walking in from the carpet and seeing the excitement of the fans, and obviously there was like a concert outside, I'm pretty sure, so just the buzz around the city, that's something that just got you so excited. And I feel like that's kind of like a playoff atmosphere of what it would be like, and this time of year next year, of just the excitement around the city, and everyone excited to see playoffs. So that whole experience of just the first game, getting that win, and that's something that will stand with me forever.
With that said, I'm sure season one is noisy, right? You're moving, you're trying to figure out what the fan base is going to be. It's all new people around you, new ownership. Are you excited to go into a year two where you kind of know what to expect and what the city is and who the fans are going to be?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot that goes into it, of not only that part, but I think finding a place to live, and there's a lot of chaos going on, and I think this year it allows us to settle in, be a lot more comfortable, and know what to expect, like you said. And but yeah, I mean, I think it was obviously a good first year, and a year that we learned a lot about us as a team, and what we kind of need to build off of to make sure we're in the playoffs next year.
Well, Logan, congratulations on the season. We really appreciate you carving out a few minutes for us, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you
Thank
bet.
you.
Good luck this offseason.
20 years old for Logan Cooley, and what a tremendous second year it was for the young rising star. I mean, it's crazy to think, again, 20. Like, how good is he going to be when he's 24, 25, 26?
He's got an incredibly high ceiling, man. And he's one of those guys that makes you excited for the Utah Hockey Club in the long term, because he has all the potential in the world to become a true superstar in the NHL, man. 65
points on the year. That's 25 goals and 40 assists for Cools, as they call him. And we'll see how much he gets paid. I mean, I really appreciate the openness. Everybody was asked on Thursday. Literally everybody was asked how they like Utah. And he seems to like it well here. Sounds like he's planning on signing. He can't sign anything until July 1st. It might take a little bit to get something worked out. It might not. I know the Utah Hockey Club wants him here long term, and they should.
I think just about every Utah Hockey Club fan wants him here long term, too.
So we'll see what those numbers look like. But they're going to have a lot of fun money to play with this offseason, especially after moving off of the Shea Weber contract. They're going to have, near $20 million to work with. So that's plenty of money to extend Cooley and maybe make a splash in the free agent market. Big game hunting.
Yeah, so you can apply that for the Utah Hockey Club, man. And you got guys like Cole and Folta and a bunch of other people who regularly come on the station, and they say, look, man, there's room there for moves to be made. And so kind of circling back to the Carcone comments, there's going to be guys that are on this roster now who will have to be moved on to make room to bring in some bigger people.
Yeah, and that sucks.
And it sucks, for people who fall in love with these players and people who enjoy having these guys on the roster already. But I mean, in the long term, it's about winning the Stanley Cup, man.
Yeah.
And if these guys have to be, taken off for the benefit to bring in somebody who can come in and make your team better, I'm all for it.
But Cooley's not one of those guys.
Cooley's not one of those guys.
Cooley is one of those guys that when they are lifting the Stanley Cup, he's going to have a major role in that.
He's going to have his number in the rafters, man.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That would be cool.
Calling it.
There was Logan Cooley. Again, we have everything posted on our podcast page. You can hear from every single player on the Utah Hockey Club roster. Every single one of them went to the podium. We also got to hear from guys like Michael Kesselring. He also sat down with Jake and Ben. Spicy Tuna, Liam O'Brien. He joined DJ and PK. And I believe DJ and PK also had, I think it was Nick Bugstad. But again, everybody was at the podium at least once. So there's that coming up next, Alex. Let's hit technical fouls. There were some funny things this week. With the draft, the NFL draft is next week. We had some funny moments there, kind of teasing what's going to happen in the draft. And we'll hit that next. This is the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
If you're coming from the street with dirty shoes on your feet, that's a technical foul. If you switch the radio to some modern music show, that's a technical foul. If you touch the thermostat, you'll get hit with a bat. 'Cause that's a technical foul. You will feel my wrath. That's a technical foul.
Personal foul, 69, offense. He was giving them the business.
A technical foul.
This is the Saturday Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles with me. It's time for Technical Fouls. This segment, we love to talk about all the funny things going on in sports. Alex, I'll start us off, teeing it up right here, driving off on the first hole. Aaron Rodgers, easy one, doing the most Aaron Rodgers thing ever. And I want to make it clear, I used to be a really big fan of Aaron Rodgers. I used to really, really like him. And then, the whole pandemic thing happened and that whole situation there with all the drama and the I'm immunized. And that kind of like made me second guess myself. Like, yeah, I don't think he's that good of a person. And then just everything that we've seen over the last few years of he only cares about Aaron Rodgers and he doesn't care about any bridges that he burns. Long story short, we're all awaiting his free agent decision, right? We know he's met with the Steelers, and it sounds like it's either Steelers, Vikings, or retirement for Aaron Rodgers. And we want to know what he's going to decide. Well, he announces that Thursday he was going to join his buddy, Pat McAfee. And it's like, oh, naturally he's going to make a decision. He's going to make some sort of announcement on Pat McAfee. Well, he joins, and what does he say, Alex?
He says, I'm still undecided.
He says nothing. Yeah. He says, I don't know what I'm doing.
And he also says it's not about the money.
Yeah.
But they got to pay me $10 million.
Right.
Specifically throws out $10 million. And then he just absolutely throws the entire Jets organization under the bus.
And I don't really care about that part. Like, yeah, a player that leaves the Jets is going to have bad things to say. Anybody's going to have bad things to say about the Jets. I'll have bad things to say about them. I've never been involved with them. They're a horrible organization. No, the part I care about is making this big hubbub about having an announcement to make. And I guess, to be fair, he never said that he has an announcement, but he all knows. And that's the beauty of what he's doing. Like he's just toying with everybody and he enjoys it and he's sick and twisted.
Oh, absolutely, man.
And he just loves to be the center of attention.
What's been one of the biggest storylines this offseason so far? It's been Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But the smoke started dying down. The news started dying down.
Yeah.
People weren't pumping out Aaron Rodgers
articles. The draft
articles.
is coming up next week.
People were switching their focus to the draft. And so what does he do? He goes on Pat McAfee and he makes it about him again.
By the way, I still don't know what I'm doing.
And what happens the next day? Every headline is about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
He loves himself so much that he's just over here making the entire sports industry just focus on what's Aaron Rodgers going to do. Like, no, I'm over it, man. I'm over it. You're tarnishing your legacy. You're a 4-time MVP. Retire.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? When he does make his decision, it's going to be big news. Whatever it is. And I'll be tuned in to see what he decides. But
I mean, obviously we'll be following along, but man, I'm tired of this drama. Just make a decision. Do something.
Speaking of the draft next week, I'm not a betting man, right? But it sounds like we know who's going number 1 overall. And this is normally the case after the whole draft process, from January to April. things kind of get ironed out, and very rarely do you not know who's going to go number one. But it sounds like we know now, Alex. Cam Ward, former Miami quarterback, was doing a Fortnite stream, of all things, the other day. Somebody asked him to name his top 5 receivers in the NFL. And I gotta... Oh, dude, this was hilarious. I gotta find it. I think I had it in... his top 4 NFL receivers. He goes, number 1, Calvin Ridley. Number 2, Jamar Chase. Number 3, Justin Jefferson. Number 4, Treylon Burks. 2 of those 4 are Tennessee Titans, who hold the number 1 pick, by the way. Treylon Burks is on his way out of the league. Calvin Ridley can't catch a football to save his life. So I wonder who he thinks he's going to be playing for next.
What a crime to put Calvin Ridley
As
over
the best
Jamar
receiver in the league.
Chase. What are we doing, man? That is...
Yeah.
I mean, obviously...
What's worse, putting Calvin Ridley 1 or putting Treylon Burks anywhere near the top 4?
That is a phenomenal question. And I'm probably going to say Burks.
He also said at one point, A.J. Brown is a good receiver, but he's no Calvin Ridley. He also said Tony Pollard and Spears are 2 of the best running backs in the league. Those are the Titans running backs, by the way.
He's doing everything he can to get drafted.
He said that Brian Callahan is the best head coach in the league. So
Come on.
This sounds like a guy who knows what jersey he's going to be wearing in a month.
And is this all just...
If he doesn't get drafted by the Titans, this would look hilarious.
Is this all just kind of for Cam Ward to be like, yeah, I'm the number 1 overall pick?
I think it's
I have that over Shedeur. I have that over Travis Hunter.
I think he's trying to show the Titans some love. Trying to love them up a little
weird.
bit.
I'm not a fan.
You know, if I was going into the draft and I knew that the Titans would be drafting me, I'd be sick to my stomach a little bit. I wouldn't be thrilled.
Crying on the inside.
Yeah, I wouldn't be excited about that.
I agree.
I'd probably pull an Eli Manning.
I think it's weird, man.
Titans have never been good. I would not want to play. No.
I get why you're saying it, but it's weird comments to make.
For Cam Ward?
Yeah.
Well, especially because there's a very high chance that Calvin Ridley and Treylon Burks will not be on this team a year from now, even when the season starts.
That's true.
I'm not positive that either of these guys will be there. But anyways, wrapping this segment up, Alex, you've got a good one to end on.
What a freaking mess Nico Iamaleava's situation has been.
I saw somebody pronounce it Nico Iama, I'm leaving.
Exactly.
For those that don't know, Alex, catch us up.
If you haven't been following, Nico decides to be, I think this is probably, if I'm not mistaken, the first guy to quote-unquote sit out and hold out from spring practice.
We see it in the NFL all the time. Players are ready for new contracts, and they say, okay, I'm not going to show up to spring practice. I'm not going to show up to training camp until I get a new contract. We see that in the NFL all the time.
It might have happened already, but this is like the first time a big light and spotlight has been put on it because it's Nico
in college.
For
Tennessee.
College. He was in the playoff last year.
Right. He was the quarterback for Tennessee. He says, I'm not showing up to spring practice until I get a new contract, which you're right. I don't think that's ever happened in college football. So it was a huge deal.
He's unhappy with his NIL situation, and so the reports and the rumors is that of all people, Dan Lanning contacted Tennessee, the head coach of the Oregon Ducks, contacted Tennessee and was like, hey, I just want to let you guys know this guy's trying to...
So basically saying Nico reached out to Oregon.
I don't know if he did.
Or maybe he heard from somebody else. But basically Nico was contacting other teams and saying, hey, let's just say I had a friend and he was the quarterback for Tennessee and he hit the portal. How much would you pay him? And they're like, oh, Nico, are you talking about yourself?
We'll give you X amount. And so
Dan Lanning rats him out.
That's what the reports are. And so the next day, good on Tennessee to have a spine and a backbone and cut him.
Yeah, you can't set that precedent. You cannot give in to that in college football.
Absolutely not. I think the situation would have been so much worse if Tennessee was like, all right, we'll give you X amount to keep you.
Yeah, if they would have given in to his demands, that sets a horrible precedent for college football.
Absolutely.
Because if you look at what players are getting this year compared to last year, it's already a crazy difference, right? But then if you give players the power to start holding out, because there's no salary cap, there's no way to regulate this whatsoever. So if you allow them to start holding out, they're going to start asking for, NFL prices.
Fast forward a couple days later, 3-4 days later, reports coming out that he signed with UCLA. But now he's completely backtracked. Still hasn't confirmed whether he's going to UCLA or not because he's kind of under the table wanting more money.
Yeah. Well, he agreed to less money for UCLA, like half as much, right?
Something like that. And now they're trying, but again, he's under the table trying to get more out of them. And now he's coming back and telling the press it's not about the money.
It's about the scheme. That's why he left Tennessee.
What are we doing, bro? Nico, what is happening, man? College football, who would have thought that we would have been here a year ago, man?
I'll tell you what's happening. This kid's got a bad agent. And somebody replied to me on Twitter. It might be his dad. His dad might be his agent.
Honestly, I believe it.
And if that's the case, you need to get a real agent, bro. Because first of all, I think having family members as agents is a horrible idea, because it's a very hard job. And if your agent doesn't know what they're doing, then you're screwed.
Absolutely, it's happened in the international soccer market where your family member is your agent.
Yeah,
and it goes south real quick.
Yeah,
it happened here locally to a player where a family member was an agent and he was just fed all the wrong information.
Right. You need to have somebody that knows what they're doing as far as what your market is, what you can get from other teams, how to promote you. I mean, a college player's agent is such an important job right now, when it comes to milking as much as you can out of NIL, securing these endorsements and sponsorships. And then, if you've got somebody saying, you know what, and of course, if it's this kid's dad, of course he's going to say, you know what, Nico, you're worth more than that. Like, of course the dad is going to tell him that.
I want a house. Yeah. I want a Ferrari. I want this.
Exactly.
Of course it's going to happen.
So,
but the crazy thing, too, is now the agents are pocketing as much money as they can, too, and taking 20% from these guys' NIL deals.
Yeah, we did hear that.
It's so insane what's happening.
It's ridiculous. Man. But regardless, even if it is an agent that's going to take 10 to 20% of your NIL, go get a real agent.
What a wild time.
Who knows what they're doing, because this is a mess. And it's probably, if he would have just stayed at Tennessee, you're right, this team was in the playoff last year.
Technical foul on Nico, but I'm good on Tennessee for keeping their spine and saying, you know what, we're gonna move on.
I am glad, because that could have been very dangerous. And I wouldn't be surprised if this happens again next spring. We probably won't see a lot of fall holdouts because there's not a transfer window. But the transfer window opens up after spring ball, so that's why we saw this now. Again, we'll probably see more of it next year, but
I wouldn't be surprised if we're not done seeing it this window.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe this situation is gonna kind of warn people away from doing it right now, especially with how badly it's gone.
We'll see, man.
But mistakes are repeated often.
Yeah.
All right. We're way over. Time to take another break. Coming up next, Utah playing their spring game today, the 22 Forever spring game. You may be listening on your way into the stadium, so we're going to preview that coming up next. Stay tuned. This is the Saturday Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.